Hi and welcome. If you've seen the video previously to this, showing you how to set up a virtual shelf, then you will know how to set up a project and a survey, the basic functions of the new platform. But also what we're touching on today is the conjoint shelf and how that would work. So it's essentially going through the same steps as the previous video, but this time we're just changing one of the blocks, which is the shelf block, to a conjoint shelf. And for that, we have a few demo files that also there's a link for, or a link to in the wiki pages. So feel free to also use that. So you can build your own shelf and use that in your own account. Now, we have as previously noted in the video, in the first video, we've got the notice block, which we've set the subtype to notice block, and we've got the shelf block, which is obviously shelf block. So now what we want to do is just delete the shelf block, and what I would normally do, just let me delete this first, and then delete this as well, and let me delete the shelf. Okay. And what we're going to do is build a conjoint shelf. So this time we'll call this conjoint. Okay, and let's do the linking again. So link these together. Now with the conjoint, I'm going to select again the subtype to be a shelf block, then the mode, we select conjoint. At this point, we need to launch the shelf builder. So this will be the the same as last time, but we just click on the continue to shelf setup. Okay, so with the shelf builder, what we now load is a module that sits on top of the shelf builder, which is the conjoint wizard. So it takes you through a few steps before you basically to kind of build this 3D shelf. So right now we're in the sort of little introduction screen. Click on start and then set the number of shelves you need, and just follow the steps essentially. Again, the properties, really, this is something that we can edit later, so let's come back to that. In terms of the product file, click on upload, and then what we need is the product kind of products that we are using in the shelf. And it's very important that we're using the physical attributes of these products. So note that the sizes are in centimeters, not inches. And also the product ID or SKU, it always matches the images that are used that are uploaded. So 9815 will be also here, for instance. So it all matches up. There's no deviation in terms of these codes. So the width and the height of the product is obviously key. The depth, not so much, but then we need the number of facings. Are these products stacked, for instance, or are they just, how many facings do they have? Okay. So let's not save that. Now what we do is we drag this product data file over, click next. Now we're in the images step. So upload the images. So right now I'm going to upload all of the images, drag these over, click upload, and give that a few seconds while it processes and uploads this. Okay, click next. Now we're in the design file. Right, so before we upload that, let's double click on that so that you can see what that is. So the design file just really has the number of versions. So at the moment, for this example, we just have 2 versions, and each version has 6 tasks. And with each task, the concepts are laid out, or at least kind of specified, which concept to use, and all the various attributes. Now this file will get merged, or let's say will get linked back to the text file. So if I drag that over, go next. Again, nothing has changed in the background, but now we go to the text file, upload that. So let's open that up and see how that looks like. And this is essentially a translation file from Sawtooth Lighthouse Studio. Okay. Once we're happy with this, so all the system will do is try and match all this data up to all the files that we already uploaded. and thus build the shelf that we need. So we'll do that. Drag that over, click next. Now you can see the shelf here. Now this is just a preview, obviously, of kind of what the data looks like. Click on preview, and now we have the actual 3D shelf or bay. All right. So if I go to the top view, because it starts off at the front view, I don't want the bay to be so close to the camera. Okay. And also I don't want this bay just to be in mid space. I would like it to be in a supermarket environment, or at least some sort of a background. So for now, let's just add another bay onto this screen here. So on the top, kind of in the top view, because what we'd like to do is, so what we'd like to do is give this kind of a dummy bay that will sit alongside the conjoint shelf, and it will help us with just making the shelf sit a bit nicer in the in this space. Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. Now what we can do is go to products, select the products that we want as dummies. So for now, perhaps we can just use this, as it's quite large. So let's do that. As before, we can right click on the shelf and say distribute. And as these are dummies, we can double click on the group of products here and just say, okay, it's not enabled and it's pixelated. Okay. Then do the same, copy and paste and paste. Select the price label and delete as well. We don't need that. And also with the conjoint, I think one point that I should have mentioned is that if you double click on the label, you can also edit the label. So we'll just do that now. Okay, make that 150. Do that again, 150. And click on save. All right, now the labels are nice and bold and very easy to read. Okay, so go back to top view, and we've got this dummy bay that we've already built. So let's duplicate that. And it's really helpful if you've seen the previous video where it talks about a normal shelf, because that will, you're pretty much using the same tools and functions. Just the conjoint is just slightly different. We are going to make an update where these products are more evenly distributed. The bay, you're not able to adjust the bay height and width because this is calculated based on the kind of variation of the shelf, so the maximums, as it were. Hence why this is not the central conjoint bay cannot be adjusted. Okay, so now I'm in top view. As I said before, what we need to do is give the floor, or basically upload a shopping environment. So we double click on the floor plan here, or the floor, select a scene to upload, and we'll go restore background. This is just a standard background, and obviously this can be changed to anything that we want to upload. Okay, so right now I've kind of got the scene how I want. I've uploaded the right files. So for the conjoint bay, I still want to do a little minor edit, which is go back to the properties and just give a little bit of a gap for each of these products. So for the group gaps, I'm going to go 2 centimeters, and the edge, I'll say 4. Okay, save, next, and preview. And now you can see how the bay is a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's a bit wider because we've given these products a bit more, there's a little bit more spacing. Okay. So we need to adjust the camera a little bit, make sure it's in the center, like so. And also give the camera height of just 1.2 is sufficient. Close that. Okay, now we are pretty much ready. So let's click on Generate Conjoint. And as always, you can come back to this setup after the generation is done, and then adjust it again. But every time you do this, you have to go back to the main admin and actually republish. So every link essentially is new. So whatever changes you make on the shelf builder, you have to go republish, right? So at this point, I can close this down, and I'm back to the admin. Now what I can do with the same flow as I set up in the previous video, I can just click on publish, test mode. Give that a few seconds. Okay, now I can download the CSV file, or I can just click on preview. So for now, let's go preview. And we've got ourselves the params ID, or basically the respondent ID, as well as what we need to do is add in there the link redirect, as we did previously in the first video. So we do add link equals and HTTPS google.com. Okay. I'll go to next and demo. Okay, so this is the conjoint setup on first look, and you can see we have a background there, and obviously we can change that to whatever background we need. So it could be a Walmart, Sainsbury's, Tesco. It doesn't really matter. So as a participant, you can click on the product and then just kind of progress through the various tasks, okay, or versions, let's say. So we've got 6 versions. So right now we can just keep clicking, and every time I complete a version, then the data for that is actually available for me via the API. So if I can grab this param ID, as we noted before in the first video, with the API, you have to again send make sure that you're familiar with APIs. If not, then please do forward this on to someone who knows this APIs, as this might not really make sense. So first we request the param ID, and then we want the survey ID. So we send that as a request, then the response is the survey ID. We take the survey ID, then we can then, for the public API, we can then ask for the conjoint. All right, so we can paste that in there. And if I do send now, and remember that the block ID is conjoint. So if we have multiple blocks in the flow here, then we can get the data for each block. Okay, so for now, we're just after the conjoint. And you can see here we have 3 responses. Okay, the first product I chose, the second product I chose, and the third product, or in the actual tasks. So as I continue this, it will then, okay, as I continue this, you can then, we can then build the data as we're going along. Okay, like so. Okay, now we've been redirected to Google in this instance. Okay, I think, okay, I see. I forgot to put the semicolons for the HTTPS, hence why the not found. Regardless, we've got the data here. Okay, now if I click back, then what will happen is that my data is now going to reset, hence why we've got invalid data. So if I run through this again, go demo shelf, and I click on this and I go next, now I will have some data, because what the system is saying is we've overridden the first instance, so hence why there was no data. Now that we've made the selection, we now have data for this product, or for that particular task. Okay, so that's in its basic form how the conjoint can work. And yeah, one thing that we haven't touched on is this base64 JSON object, but essentially this allows you to specify the kind of the task ID that you want to show to a particular respondent, and this is done through the base64 to JSON, or JSON to base64 encoding. So again, if I was to, let's say, to do base64 to JSON, always happens, not sure why. Anyway, so now if I go to base64, do this, you can see now how this has been encoded. So the conjoint, so that URL parameter actually translates to block conjoint version number, and it's got 1. Okay, so if we change that to 2, then you can specify for that respondent to have a look at, say, version 2, for instance. Again, you might not need to look at that just yet, but this is just something to keep in mind. So that's essentially all the conjoint is, really. And obviously it needs your input from we need the data from Lighthouse Studio. So yeah, have a play, and then it will be great to hear your feedback and to see kind of how else we can help you with any sort of conjoint project that you're looking to build. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope this has been a good help to you. Thank you.